Okay, guys, we're back again for this game. The men's under-19 Canada versus South Africa in Court 1 on the second day of the CMAS Age Group World Championships here in Hobart. The South Africans have just put a goal in the tin, but the referees have given it a no-go call and given the advantage puck to the Canadians. And now the Canadians are driving the puck back down the pool. And the South Africans quickly recycle that puck and go for a swim over the right-hand side of the court on the far side. The refs are calling an infringement. They're saying it's chopping, and they're saying it's against the South Africans as they push them back. You can see the referee there indicating which South African player was responsible for that chopping foul as the Canadians set up for an advantage puck sort of mid-court in the centre of the pool, and they decided to drive it out to the left-hand side. Good numbers on the bottom from both teams in this early stage of the game. My apologies for the mix-up with the streaming before. We just had a couple of technical issues which meant that we had to start the streaming late for this game, so we did miss the first 2 minutes of the stream, but we got it all fixed now, so hopefully you guys around the world watching this game with the greatest of intent, I'm sure, can now enjoy the rest of this game without any stoppages, as the Canadians and the South Africans are still sort of going head-to-head back and forward on that far side as the South Africans drive that puck down the pool, probably implementing a 2-1-2-1 structure, which gives them a lot of general pressure able to be applied basically going on those straight lines forward as the refs call up another infringement. Looks like they're saying it's against the South Africans again, and they're going to set that advantage puck up for the Canadians and set it up on the left-hand side in the Canadian defence. So the referees are having a bit of a conference at the moment. The South African captain over there as well, just listening to what they're saying. Looks to me like it was another chop, but this time the advantage is going to be for the South African lads as the refs set it up. You can see there the South African structure. They've got three guys behind, one dude by the looks of it on the puck, one guy sort of on the line of the Canadian defensive line as the South Africans call a timeout. So an interesting structure the South Africans are implementing, but I think that's because they like having quite a few guys behind the puck as they go down to take the free. You can see them getting together with their coach at the moment, just getting some pearls of wisdom, I'm sure. It is still 0-0 on the clock, so I'm sure the South Africans and the Canadian coaches are going to be pretty keen to try and assert their game plan as the dominant plan as this game unfolds. It is going to be an interesting hit out. I think the South Africans have managed to generate maybe a little bit more forward movement than the Canadians. The Canadians have looked to be a little bit more on the back foot in the early stages of this first half, but it is going to be interesting to see how the rest of this first half pans out. As you can see, the Canadian lads just getting back into the sub-bench there. They've got to have all their heads up in the sub-bench before the buzzer goes. So you can see the first or the front line of the Canadians all on the bottom. The South Africans are all down as well. The defenders of the Canadians at the back there just going down now as the South Africans start to drive the right-hand side of their attacking before bringing it back into the sort of close to the centre channel and recycling that puck through a curl with guys staying down for long periods of time as a big drive happens from the South Africans and they hook it back underneath and again hit that puck with numbers. I can't tell at this stage if the puck's gone into the trail. The Canadians, I think, have managed to keep that puck out and drive it into the corner. But a good press, a lot of good attacking questions being asked by the South Africans early on in this game at the Doon Kennedy Hobart Aquatic Centre. I'd like to give a shout out to the Tasmanian Government, the Hobart City Council, Tourism Tasmania, and all of our other sponsors here, Vertex, Six Alagua Underwater Hockey Gear, and Shark Underwater Hockey Gear, and Najade Fins for being amazing sponsors at this Underage World Championship CMAS competition. What an amazing place at this Hobart Doon Kennedy Aquatic Centre to have this competition. As I'm joined in the commentary box by a stalwart of the Tasmanian underwater hockey community down here. Nick Martin is back with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Stu. It's nice to be back. I saw you looking a bit lonely in here, so I better come in and just, keep you company. And I know even you get tired of the sound of your own voice eventually.
Yeah, I am pretty sick of listening to my dulcet tones, and they are very dulcet. But I was told on the live stream before that I was talking too quietly, so it is nice to have a bit of a rest so I can just generate a little bit more volume going through this mic, Nick.
Yeah, so what have we got going on here with the Canadian and the South Africans? How's the vibe after the first 5 minutes, Stu?
Yeah, so the general vibe is that I would say the South Africans have been doing some more attacking moves than the Canadians. They've been asking some good attacking questions. The Canadians have had all the defensive answers up until this point, but the Saffers have been very close to to putting in a goal on their attacking tray. Obviously, at the moment, the refs are having a little bit of a conference and they're setting up an advantage puck, I think, for the South Africans in deep attack, deep defence for the Canadians. And this is basically how this first 5 minutes of this first half has been unfolding, Nick.
Yeah, I've watched a few of the Canadian team games now, and they seem to have a good, strong defence around the bin. But, commentators curse. I'm sure they'll probably get scored against here. But, yeah, look, their coach, Moses, who used to play in their elite team, he's been around the pool deck for quite a few years now, and he seems to have these Canadian boys pretty well drilled.
Yeah, he does. And you can see one of the guys has just gone to the sub bench there with his mask ripped off. So he was pretty quick to do the sub as the Saffers drive down the left-hand side of their attacking court, and the Canadians just sort of desperately trying to keep it underneath their sub-bench and get their guys on a good line between the puck and the tray to defend. Another good quality South African attack. The referees have called an infringement, so it's going to be interesting to see what they bring up here, Nick.
Yeah, it looks like some advantage was being played there for stick infringement against the Canadian boys, and they've been pushed back and warning there. Not sure if that was an individual warning for... Can't quite get the cap number from here. It looks like cap number 5 from the Canadians, which I'll grab my book and report back, Stu.
Yeah, no worries. It was, I think, cap number 5, and we'll just get that name for you guys in a second. But I think it's been interesting. The referees have been dishing out some individual warnings, which maybe they have the capacity to track themselves, but generally they haven't been giving team warnings for stick infringement this early on in the game, and they haven't called that many stick infringements so far. So I'd be surprised if that was a team warning at this stage, Nick.
Yeah, look, so that's Nathaniel Schoenberger there, just getting a little bit excited and making contact with a player with his bat instead of the puck. But the Canadians got a pretty good drive up the wall. We see them trying to use some individual skills there for some one-on-ones as the South African player just leaving the puck behind there, Stu, as he tries to drive through.
Yeah, that's right. He sort of went for the egg scraper underneath his body there and just sort of left the puck behind him. Would have been a quality move, I think, if he'd have managed to hang on to it. But he just had too many Canadian guys around the puck as they go for a big drive, the Canadians up the right-hand side. The referees have called another infringement against the Canucks, and they will push them back and give the South Africans another advantage puck right in front of the bench of the Canadians there, Nick.
Yeah, that's a new one for me, mate. The egg scraper. When did you just come up with that one off the cuff?
I just made it up.
Well, I mean, I can understand you trying to make the breakfast and, you're just flipping that egg, getting down there underneath it. So, look, I'm happy to coin that. I might put that in my next coaching manual, the egg scraper. If we see one of the senior assessing referees, Simon Talbot, there camping right in the middle of our puck picture, sadly. But it's a bit of to and fro here at the moment. The game quite tight. Played in quite a small zone, which I think is probably more suited to the Canadians who are trying to play a bit more of a box, whereas the South Africans will be more looking towards their free-flowing play and those big flicks that they've got and big, strong bodies and fast swimming.
Yeah, well, they definitely went for a big drive just then, straight from the left-hand side of the court over into the middle. The Canadians did manage to drive them over into the opposing court corner, and they've set up a reasonable defence. It's going to be interesting to see if the South Africans can kind of generate any kind of quality team play to get that puck out of that corner and back into the centre channel. Looks like the refs have called another stick infringement on the South Africans this time with another warning. Maybe that was a team one. It didn't look like the ref was showing it to the whole team, though. So
no, it looked like he was pulling out player number 12 there for me, Parko. So Edwin Zhang from the Canadian under-19 men getting signalled there for a stick infringement warning. And the referee's doing a good job of keeping this game flowing, but keeping on top of those infringements.
Yeah, he is. And if you can keep on top of those cap numbers and how many people he's warned, he's a much smarter person than I am. I could never keep up with all those numbers. Another infringement, telling number 7 in the South African team that it was a bit of a free arm there, so the Canadians will get another free puck and the referees will push the South Africans back. I agree with you that the South Africans definitely tend to operate better in space, in a free-flowing game than it seems the Canadians do. They do like to get players in front of the puck and launch those big flicks that a lot of those lads have got. At the moment, it's kind of tit for tat. It has been, sort of more in the attacking half of the South Africans than the Canadians, but no one has really asserted their dominance on this game yet, Nick.
Yeah, no, it's definitely probably the South Africans just controlling the momentum slightly, but definitely not grabbing the bull by the horns just yet. And the Canadians really managing to ask most of the questions. As we've got another signal on the surface here, he's pulling out another player. He's we've got a minute being gone, and that's against South Africa there. South African number 8. As I dig through my sheet, he's been thrown there for obstruction, Stu.
Yeah, unfortunate for that South African number 8. I believe that was one of the lads got a warning a few minutes ago for a stick infringement. Not that that's got anything to do with it. I'm sure he doesn't want to be in the bin. I think it's going to be a reasonably important thing for both of these teams in this game to just sort of try and minimise the amount of time their players spend in the sin bin, as all teams try to. But given it's so close, and you see the Canadians there just cracking that South African guy and going for a good drive down the right-hand side as he dishes it back to his compatriot, and they try and go inside. They meet a lot of South African dudes as they try and come back through the centre channel as the play goes over the opposing side of the court, Nick.
Yeah, so it was the number 8, Luke Hanna there, that was thrown out for a minute, as we can see in the top, we could see in the top corner of our screen. We've got another signal here. We're signaling out another player. We've got a stick infringement here. Player number 3 from South Africa, as we've got a ref's timeout being called. I imagine Robbie's probably trying to get his head around who's got a warning at the moment and who doesn't.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's just trying to look at his little underwater notebook or something like that. But I'll tell you what, that was a really nice drive, passage of play there by the Canadians. It looks like we're finally seeing the Canadians start to assert some attacking dominance on this game as another South African for an illegal subbing infringement occurs. Number 1, I believe, has got to spend a minute in the bin for an illegal sub there, Nick.
Yeah, Brandon Van Wyk. So South Africans here down to 4 players, and we've had a timeout call by the Canadian coach there, Moses, to probably get his boys together. And I was chatting with Nat Wickham on the commentary the other day, Stu, and it's an interesting thing about these North American countries coming from a real ice hockey and CFL and NFL background where the set plays are such, they basically make up the entire game, how much importance and how much emphasis these teams put on those set plays.
Yeah, that's right. There are some countries that put a lot more emphasis on set plays than others. Some countries drill set plays a lot more than others. I don't know if people really understand this or not, but in Australia we don't really put that much emphasis on set plays. We prefer to just kind of keep it flowing and keep it flexible. But I'll tell you what, there's some countries out there that really do manage to get set plays working consistently for them. And with 2 guys from South Africa in the sin bin, I'd be very surprised if Moses, that Canadian coach, didn't want to just have his guys have a bit of a deep breath, a couple of pearls of wisdom, and then and set up this final press towards the tray here, Nick.
Yeah, as we get back underway, and they look to be working into the corridor really nicely there, Stu. The South Africans keeping out, but his numbers down for Canada, and it's really that last South African fullback there managing just to sweep that wide.
Yeah, they did manage to drive it over into the corner, and it's a shame the Canadians couldn't just break through one more line before they had to sort of sacrifice possession of the puck. As you can see, the South Africans working nice and hard to keep it in that defensive corner, and the Canadians kind of, with maybe 3 to 4 guys in that mix, with 2 guys sitting back, they really need to get that puck out of the corner and get it tracking to the centre channel to take advantage of the fact that it's 6 versus 4 at the moment, Nick.
Yeah, the South Africans doing a really good job of just closing out this power play here. So just the number 1 left on the bench there for them, and the referee getting ready to put him back in the water now. So they've played this out really nicely. And, yeah, the number 1, Brandon Van Wyk, jumping back in the pool as the Canadians make a big swing across, but just the blind throw into the middle there.
That's right. They threw the puck into the centre channel, but I tell you what, it's worked out pretty nice for them as the puck goes into the yellow section of the goals. The refs have come up and they're sort of waving their hands around, looking around.
We've got
There's
a
no-goal signal going on. The Canadians will not be happy about that because that would have been literally the first score of the game, and it would have been against the flow because really the South Africans have been dictating a lot of the attacking play up until this point, Nick.
Yeah, it was a great response there from Canada. Really, they quite patient through the power play, didn't do anything brash or stupid, just played it out, kept the pressure on, and then, got the numbers in there, but sadly just making an infringement on the play.
Yeah, it's funny how those blind flicks into the centre corridor can sometimes work out in your team's favour. Like that blind flip went, it sort of hit the body of the South African guy. It spilled behind him. He missed the pickup, and then a Canadian just dropped down onto it and managed to just sort of funnel it through that centre channel. Unfortunately for the Canadians, as the South Africans go on a big counter-attack down into their attacking left-hand corner, unfortunately for Canadians, they just didn't get it into the tray clean enough for the refs to be happy with it. But I think at least the Canadians can take some positives as the Saffers try and drive this back wall out of that attacking play there, Nick.
Yeah, they're really working the magic channel, as Arnie would call it, mate, that 1.5 metre slot, and they've pulled that into the front of the goal tray. This is very dangerous for Canada, and that looks like it's in the bin to me. We'll check the surface with the referees. We've got a no goal being signalled again here, a gloving by the referee on the far side, and that's a Canadian free puck. And look, we've had each team get let off at each end there, Stu.
Yeah, it looks to me like neither team can really score those goals as clean as the refs want it. Maybe they need to pull out the Windex and just do some proper window cleaning before they put that puck in the tray, because at the moment they're getting in there dirtier than the referees want anyways. The Canadians drive it down over to the left-hand side of their defensive half. With a minute and a half to go, it's anyone's game at the moment, Nick.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going end to end, and this is fantastic hockey for everyone back at watch. We've got a bit of chat going on the channel there with some Canadian and SA fans giving some shout-outs to their team and getting a bit of competitive chatter going, which is great to see, as it's still in a dangerous spot, and that's gone in the tray again. We look at the referees. We've got a ref's timeout being signalled. There's one ref signalling no goal, two refs signalling ref's timeout. The chief ref is pulling them all in. And there was one referee playing advantage. Looks like Australian referee Annabelle Biffin there. Great to see Annabelle coming along to this comp. We really need to get a lot of more female refs in the water. I think at this comp we've got Annalise from South Africa. We've got Annabelle from Australia. Obviously Jenny Kennedy. Vero, one of our tournament referees. So we're starting to get much more of a representation from that female referee group.
Yeah, I think Helen Canavan's here as well, doing some good reffing too. And now the Canadians got one in the bin, but the Canadians would be very happy with a minute and 10 seconds remaining that South African goal was disallowed again by the referees. So the referees definitely stamping their authority on this game, and they're basically just giving the players a whole bunch of don't argues in relation to some dirty goals going in, Nick.
Yeah, look, we've seen sadly a few. I'm sure it's not anything deliberate. It's probably just best intentions being come undone there. But we've got another substitution foul, but this time it's against Canada. So deck referee Robbie Kilpatrick, a local here in Hobart, switched onto that subbing, Parko.
Yeah, it's amazing that you can see anything through that big lock of hair that he's got tied back there. I guess his fringe is just out of his eyes at the moment, so it's good that he picked up that subbing foul. But bad for the Canadians. They're going to have two people in the bin with I think about 30 seconds to go in this first half. The Saffers would really be wanting to put this puck in as they drive through that centre channel for one last quality push. It looks like the puck has actually gone into the yellow section as the referees are signalling. They're signalling something.
We look at the surface. All three referees are signalling for a goal here, and look, that's a huge goal. This close to half-time, closing out the half, 4 seconds left, putting it in. It's goals like that that really shift the momentum of a half-time talk. And as a coach, they've put a lot of pressure on Moses here to really yazz his Canadian boys up.
Yeah, that's right. The South Africans would be very happy with that. One goal in, one goal ahead in going into the second half with two Canadians in the bin. I mean, with a close game like this, that's definitely how you'd want to close out the first half as the teams swap sides and they go to their respective benches to hear some good words from their coaches. How do you reckon the recap of that first half went, Nick?
Yeah, look, obviously I came in a little bit late, so I only caught the last 10 minutes, but it was really anyone's game there. It went end to end. The South Africans probably really controlling that momentum for that middle 5-minute section, but then it actually felt like in the last 5 minutes, probably Canada really putting the pressure back on them and asking a couple of questions in front of their goal bin and, getting denied by the referees, and then the South Africans getting denied twice by the referees, but finally able to put one in clean.
Yeah, I think, as you said before, the referees have definitely been hot on the tail of all the players in this court for good, clean hockey, which is definitely their primary job to adjudicate these games. And you can see the chief ref as well, like he's doing a really good job, Robbie Kilpatrick, of basically paying attention on the surface and paying attention to the sub-benches and just holding the players to account to make sure that they are subbing correctly. It's one of those things that you really don't want to get wrong as a team. You don't ever want to have someone in the bin for a subbing infringement. It's just one of those unfortunate things that every now and again a player gets too excited and jumps into the water, puts their head under the water before they've got 4 heads in the bin. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Canadians respond, being 1 goal down with 15 minutes to go in the second half of this game, Nick.
Yeah, look, it's one of those simple errors that really makes you bite the lugs out of your snorkel as a coach when you see those substitution fouls, because you just wouldn't think it was that hard to not get out of the sub bin until the other person's got in. But every tournament we see it, and every time it's just such a simple thing. As they set back up here, the South African coach giving some very firm words and some very strong gesticulations. I love a good coach gesticulation, Stu. It's probably one of my highlights of a tournament.
Yeah, it's amazing the kind of the depth and variation of gesticulations you can get from the coaches sometimes. Some coaches are a little bit more sort of like concentrated verbally, so you can see them shouting a lot. Other coaches are very sort of physical in the kind of hand signals they give their players under the water as well as on the surface. So, and every now and again you see a coach just chuck his hand underwater and do some good underwater screaming when he doesn't want to let the refs hear what he's got to say.
No, to me, looking at the translation of that gesticulation, that was most certainly Afrikaans. He was speaking with his hands then. It had a very clear, very concise and crisp. He knew what he wanted from his boys, and he's let them know.
Yeah, that's right. Well, being a coach of the under-23 lads yourself, Nick, what do you reckon? Have you been employing some cheeky Australian confidence in your coaching this comp?
Some cheeky Australian confidence or some arrogance, as the New Zealand underwater meme page has been letting me know. No, look, I think as a coach in these games, really, once that first buzzer goes, your job is done. If you haven't done it by that stage, it's really up to the team from that point to carry it through, and you can only impart a certain amount of knowledge, and you can only store a certain amount of knowledge. So, look, I think it's especially in the under-23 division, you know, we're dealing with young men and young ladies there who it's really up to them to start taking control of their own destiny, as we're back underway here with the under-19 boys. Round robin game in Court 1, South Africa leading Canada 1-0 as we get stuck into the second half. Yeah,
that's right, and you can see the play on the far side of the court there as the South Africans and the Canadians bring it back into the centre. A little bit to see who's dictating the actual passage of play at the moment, with the puck going from the South African sticks to the Canadian sticks. The Saffers go for a big drive down their left-hand wall, with the Canadians streaming back to try and stop that drive as they go all the way to the corner. An interesting aspect of basically the South African game is that they don't mind swimming the puck all the way into the corner. But I would say that I think the South Africans need to have a reasonable think about just how many times they take it into the corner and how good they are at getting it out, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, they need to really go hand in glove with those kind of things. Taking court position is obviously a hugely important part of underwater hockey, but you really need a plan then. Okay, well, if we are going to attack the back corner, how are we going to get it out, and how are we going to swing that around to drive it in? As we see a Canadian player with a bit of a breakaway here.
Yeah, he's gone for a good swim there.
He's got support.
He does have support, and another Canadian player swims to that left-hand side. There are some South African dudes getting back now as they do a counter-attack down their right-hand side, but another Canadian goes for a swim. So there's some good open hockey going on right now, Nick.
Yeah, I just can't help but feeling that if they change the angles on some of those swims, they'd find a bit of space. You know, we see the Canadian player there picking it up, finding good room, but actually swimming straight back up the court underneath the South African sub-bin.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard for that first guy, especially when you feel like you're clear, to recognise that there might be someone from the opposition team coming down on top of your head. So you're right, you know, like you've got to sort of have eyes in the back of your head as you're going for those fast swims. It's also hard to know how much oxygen he had in his lungs and how puck-focused he was. These guys are all under 19, so they're probably all lessons these lads are going to learn over the years as they go forward.
As we see one of the South African boys actually losing his fin there, but continuing on valiantly. As we see there the angles we're talking about as the South African player rips that off the wall and comes inside, but cut down there by Canada, and we see some fancy hand skills there with a few little swerves as the Canadian boys try to shut down that South African drive.
Yeah, a couple of little swerves. The South African guy getting underneath that Canadian player that was on the puck just there. It'd be interesting to see if the referees picked that up. By the looks of it, no. Some desperate sort of cracks at the puck as the South Africans try and take it off the wall and across the other side. Quite well tagged by the Canadian team as they swim over to the other side and then back through the centre channel there, Nick.
Yeah, it's a good switch there by the South Africans, and exceptional work by that South African back there to maintain the possession on the end of it, turn it around and recycle it back into his players coming from the middle, and they've turned that into a good corridor drive. But we see now number 12 from South Africa there, Joel Hanna, being pulled for obstruction. No warning given out. Joel's been warned already for stick infringement earlier in the game, so he's active on the infringement sheet.
He is, and maybe that was just a different ref that had a look at him just then, or maybe the ref's forgotten the number. I know that I would have if I was the one dishing out the warning. But some really good play happening by both these teams in here as the South Africans drive the right-hand side. The Canadians drive the right-hand side and then follow a South African switch all the way over to the near side of the court, right in front of the cameras here. And they try and drive that wall right underneath the South African sub-bench. The Canadians do have a little bit of momentum at the moment as they get that puck all the way close to the corner. The Saffers throw a switch, however. The buzzer has gone as the puck is basically stopped in the centre channel there, Nick.
Yeah, it's the South African number 2, Simeon Justa, being pulled up there for free arm, I believe that one was, looking at the signal from the referee. So a bit of a chance for the Canadians here in their attacking third underneath the South African sub-bench to try and put something in.
Yeah, nice. And while we've got a little bit of a chance on this advantage puck from the Canadians, you can see the Canadians there. They sort of set up on the puck and try and get a little bit of advantage by driving that 45 as the buzzer goes again. But where would you say, for those listening that are in Hobart watching the stream, good places to visit in Hobart, Nick?
Yeah, well, look, it's a long list, mate. It's a very long list. But obviously, today being a Saturday, Salamanca Market this morning would have been great. And that's next week. You won't make it down because the finals will be on and you'll all be at the pool watching the hockey as the Canadians have another crack at this free puck in front of goals. And we just see that get caught up in a bit of a tussle there. But it looks like the South Africans just able to sweep that one wide. But yeah, look, Hobart's really turned it on the last couple of days. The weather's been fantastic. I've seen a lot of photos of the teams up on top of Mount Wellington. I've heard a few of them that have been down to the museum and out to Mona, which is obviously a fantastic facility out there on the northern side of the city. So in between games, the team's really making the most of getting out and seeing everything that Hobart has to offer as we see the South Africans circulate that back to the middle.
Yeah, that's right. The Canadians definitely are pushing some good attacking moves onto the South Africans in this left-hand side of their deep attack. It's kind of going close to the middle channel and then just sort of coming back out, which is not uncommon. As an attacking team is asking some questions of a defensive team. A good sort of right-hand swim followed by a left-hand swim by the South Africans. And again, a couple of really nice sort of 45s with recycles. The Canadians were up to the challenge, though, and they sort of nullify those drives in the centre, but didn't do a very good movement to get it out of that centre channel, which was basically where the South Africans are coming from. So they're gonna have an advantage puck against them now, and the South Africans are going to see if they can capitalise on that nice drive they just set up, Nick.
Yeah, looking at the way the South Africans are playing this kind of pick and roll, they're playing a lot of 45, swimming a lot of aggressive angles, but I think they're losing a little bit of the initiative in when they're looking to turn and recycle that puck. The player they're dropping it back to a lot of the time is stationary when they're receiving it, and then they're having to accelerate and then go, as opposed to giving themselves a bit of room and lining up into that with a bit of pace as they take this puck down the centre corridor and really put a lot of pressure on this Canadian defence.
Yeah, they're definitely... as the flick goes in, it's gone into the tray. The South African lad comes up and he's claiming it. He's pretty excited. The referee's hand is in the air. That was pretty clear angle for the refs to see it. Number 8, I believe, put that puck in the tin as the ref signal number 8. So that's the second goal for the South Africans in this second half of this game. Canadians versus South African under-19 men.
Yeah, it looks like number 8, Luke Hanna, one of the Hanna brothers, has put that one in there. It's often something we see with the backlines in underwater hockey, that communication being very difficult, not being able to speak. You put in all that hard work and you defend that wide, and then everyone pops thinking it's defended, and someone picks it up and it's one big flick and it's in the bin. Yeah,
it was a good drive by Luke, a really good sort of, he capitalised well on a couple of small positional mistakes that the Canadian defence has made. He sort of managed to get in and behind most of the defence with one guy to beat, had a nice angle for a flick, flicked it, saw it go in the tray. Interestingly enough, didn't stay down to make sure of it. The puck popped out and he was just kind of relying on the ref to see. Luckily, the ref had seen it bounce in, and the rest is history. So obviously, well done to Luke for scoring that goal there, Nick.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is an important part of scoring a goal, getting up, doing some showboating on the surface. And we see that a lot with these under-19 boys, and they're getting a bit excited. And I've seen a bit of douchebag cowboy being played on the surface. I've seen a lot of straight-up Leighton Hewitt-style claims. But, no, look, well done by the South Africans to put a goal in there and take this game to 2-0. But really, look, with 7 minutes to go, Stu, this is still anyone's game.
Yeah, I agree. And the Canadians are still in this match. They've put a lot of good attacking drives together as the South Africans drive on a very nice, clear breakaway goal straight to the tray. It's going to be basically luck for the Canadians if the referees have seen something dirty here that they can pull the South Africans up on, but I believe they haven't. And that is another goal for South Africa. So they go 3-0 with 6 minutes and 38 seconds to go in this second half of this game, Nick.
Yeah, look, South African number 3, Ryan van Zyl there. That, to me, textbook quintessential South African hockey. Big, strong body, big, strong drive, and just swimming it all the way to the tray.
Yeah, he did an amazing effort, and he was just in a really good spot to capitalise on a nice team attack there from the rest of his lads. And he had the speed and the position on his defender to just take him all the way to the tray. And, in the end, in that last sort of 2 lanes, he basically swam that puck in uncontested. So hats off to him for a really good finish to an otherwise very good team goal.
Yeah, it's a pretty good feeling when something like that happens as we get the game back underway here and they play to the far side of the court. But as has been the general approach in this game, we're really playing side-to-side hockey with both teams trying to wrestle control. As the Canadians now putting the pressure back on, and we've got a bit of a break here, looking to recycle it back around. But there's that same kind of problem where the supporting player, Stu, having to hold up and not being able to hit that puck clean and drive through.
Yeah, and it's almost like he wanted to crank that roll around, crank that curl, and then just sort of go on an angle that was way too close to where the South African defence was waiting. He needed to sort of rip that curl, kick back, find a clear player in some space and get it over the other side and back into that centre channel more as the South Africans drive the right-hand side of the court. Canadians doing a good job of sort of nullifying a couple of drives, but the Saffers have got the numbers at the moment, Nick.
Yeah, well, the Canadians there just getting trapped underneath the South African sub-bench. We've got another big, strong swim here as all this has started from what I would call a Papatiso-esque spin-off there as he curled and dropped it back from the player that started this drive. But lazy Canadian there was sitting behind the players, managed to tuck in and pick it up. Good work getting down and picking that puck up from behind play as they clear it to their sub-bench.
Yeah, often it can definitely pay dividends for a defensive player to be just lazy sitting back there and waiting for someone to bring them the puck. And in that case, that Canadian lazy lad was definitely in a perfect defensive position to just pluck that puck off an overextended South African attacker and take it to the safety as the South Africans get an advantage puck against them. So the Canadians have got a bit of reprieve here, I think somewhere in the middle of the park. You can see them sort of, again, not really trying to take the puck anywhere else except for straight, which doesn't really give them much of an advantage against the 2-1-2-1 structure that the South African lads like to play, Nick.
Yeah, look, I was chatting to a couple of the Canadian boys last night after their game in one of the interviews, and certainly I think one of their real focuses has been to try and play quite a tight game on the wall and try and shut it down. That has worked for them in a few instances, but certainly the South Africans here seem to be able to have an answer to that by ripping it off. We've seen a few good switches and some really nice clean as we see some excellent barging in that swim forwards there. But we're getting a pull-up for a gloving and a stick infringement on that one, so that must have been prior to that little drive.
Yeah, I think you're right about the Canadians. They do like playing the box at the moment, and sometimes it works for them. The problem with the box against the 2-1-2-1 structure is that you need to have a method of taking the puck in the box whilst you're maintaining the box and moving it left and right to create a little bit of space and make the opposition players break off their line. What the Saffers do in 2-1-2-1 is they go from the wall into the centre to an inside guy. They look like they're going to open it up, and then they throw it back to a fast mover down the wall again. And they've been repeating that time and time again and been able to establish a lot of forward movement, Nick.
Yeah, and I think it's a style that they've played for a long time, and certainly it's been really effective historically. I think they're having a little more trouble with it, making it as effective as what it used to be with the extra fitness a lot of the teams are bringing into tournaments now, where they're really choking up, and the second and third efforts and the bodies on the bottom are getting the way into that fast mover a lot, and they're able just to niggle and slow them down, and it's caused a lot of frustration for them, I know, which has led to a lot of infringements where players are getting held off. But the Canadians really putting a strong drive in here, and it's right on the corner of that South African goal bin, Stu.
It is, and I really hope the Canadians make us eat our words here as they put that puck in the tray, and we see if the referees are going to give them what they want. There is a no goal being signalled by the third referee, and he's saying it's a barging on one of the Canadian players, so that's heartbreaking for the Canadian lads. They went on a really good drive there and did a lot of good work to get that puck in the tin, so that's a bit disappointing for those lads. I'm sure they wanted that to go their way that time, Nick.
Yeah, look, 4 goals disallowed in this game. It's been a referees are probably almost on the score sheet more than the players in the goal bins there, as the South Africans take one and look to go that corridor drive again. They've got good numbers lurking behind the puck, but the Canadian back just able to pull that one out. It's good bottom time and good second and third efforts there by the young Canadian player.
Yeah, number 7's going for a bit of a swim for Canada down the left-hand wall, and has done a lot of really good second and third efforts there as the Saffers sort of stream back to get their defensive rotations going right underneath their sub-bench. We're in a minute and a half to go in this game. I really hope the Canadians can put one in the tin here, Nick, and just sort of at least get one on the board.
Yeah, look, the South Africans certainly have probably put more chances into the game as we see them shovel that puck to the centre and feed a new drive. But certainly the Canadians haven't been without chances, and they've definitely done enough work in here to make the South Africans come out of this game and be really hurting, but sadly not able to put anything on the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's right. I think, the minute to go, hopefully they can get a goal, but either way, they'll definitely be able to take a lot of positives out of this as the South Africans go for a big drive all the way to the corner of the tray here. The Canadians trying to keep it out. I can't tell if the puck's in the tray or not. The referee's hand's gone up. No, everyone's coming to the surface. The referee is pointing at someone and saying no goal. It's going to be against the South Africans. It was a good attacking drive there by the Saffers, but looks like the Canadians get a reprieve with under a minute to go, Nick.
Yeah, look, South African number 6, Matthew Penning there, just a legal knockdown, and on the end of those drives, really the heat of the moment, he would have been on the red line after the drive he's put in there. But we see once again that good recycle play from the South Africans, just swimming a hard line, plucking it back, and then refeeding it to the runners, and just keeping that running on that 45 across the court, Stu.
Yeah, they do have some good fast runners that are just kind of ready and raring to run those lines at pace, which is putting a lot of pressure on the Canadian defence as we see, again, the sort of wall game that's going on here is a nice little swerve by number 7, I believe, again from Canada there, and he goes the drive after the swerve down the wall. A very nice little sort of Australian-esque swerve movement there, Nick.
Yeah, I think it's called a jinx in South Africa, mate. So, and we've got Willem Zeistra commenting away on the chat there, and he would know one of these big, strong bodies better than most people around there. But the Canadians, once again, just denied right on the lip of the goal bin there, Stu.
Yeah, I think that was number 7 again, if I'm not mistaken. So he's just had 30 or 40 seconds of quality play coming in off the sub-bench, I believe. Did we manage to hunt down his name there?
Yeah, so Duncan Pearce, the Canadian number 7, he's had a few really ripping runs in this game.
It was an amazing second and third effort there. He had a really good swim at the tray and just got denied the goal that he deserved at the end by a last-ditch effort by that overstretched South African defender. It looks like it's gone full time here, Nick. So 3-1, the Canadians go down to the under-19 South Africans in a very tight-fought game.
Yeah, absolutely. A really tight game. And they've only got 11 minutes on the clock here, Stu, so I might just hop out on the pool deck and see if I can grab an interview.
Go for it, mate. And thank you, everyone out there, for watching. And you'll hear the dulcet tones of Nick in just a sec with the players. Cheers.
Robbie, tough game to deck ref there.
Yeah, it got pretty hectic at times, Nick. We had a few kickouts, mainly due to subbing fouls, actually, and then the Canadian team lost a player with a blood nose, and we couldn't let him back in the pool while it was bleeding, so we had to wait till that finished, and unfortunately it didn't finish until the end of the game.
All right, we missed that one in the commentary booth, but yeah, they certainly played end-to-end hockey, and great work on the deck there, mate, keeping on it. We saw a lot of subbing fouls that you've managed to pick up, so very impressed.
Yeah, well, I've got a good team behind me on the bench, so that helps, and I've got good refs in the water.
Thanks, Robbie. Good luck with the rest of the tournament on the reffing. Cool, and joining me is the South African number 13, Quibus. Quibus, good win, that one.
Yeah, it was a really tight game. The Canadian team were good, but luckily we pulled through.
Yeah, it certainly went end to end a long way there. Both teams having quite a few disallowed goals. Just the intensity of the game, having trouble keeping the pucks on the bat.
Yeah, I think some of the mistakes were stupid mistakes, like throwing it back on the fins and things, but yeah, it happens. It's hockey.
Yeah, that it certainly is. And seemed you guys playing a very strong running game there. You're playing the standard South African 2-1-2-1.
Yeah, a lot of different things, but normally it's just, yeah, we like swimming the puck.
Yeah, it certainly seemed to be a lot of really strong angles. I even saw a couple of Australian-esque switch or swing plays in there.
Yeah, we try.
Mate, you enjoying the tournament?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's my first World, so yeah, it's really fun.
Cool. And I know we've got quite a few South African viewers back home. You got a message for them?
Yeah, I just want to say to all of them, thanks. All my parents and my brother and my sister at home, I love you. And yeah, thanks for the support, guys. Thank you.
Cool. Congratulations, mate, and good luck with the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
And I've got the Canadian captain here, the number 9. What's your name, mate?
Luke Kruger.
Luke Kruger. Luke, tough game in there. You guys really end-to-end hockey, applying a lot of pressure, but just not quite able to put one in the bin cleanly.
Yeah, we had a couple get called back there. The team put a lot of pressure, and we just couldn't get it done today. Seems to be the story of the tournament. Can't get any goals that count.
Yeah, look, it's a really tight tournament across all divisions, but seemed like Moses, your coach there, had given you a bit of a directive to play the wall quite tight and quite aggressive.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to keep it away from their own subs. We have less subs ourselves, so we want to keep it going up nice and fast. We don't want them to get any fresh legs because we know we're pretty fit on this team.
Yeah, they're certainly looking fit, and then it really hurts having a guy, blood nose, getting held out for the game. Is he a standard blood nose culprit?
No, he's the first one. He's gluten-free, though, so can't really blame him, right?
Yeah, so no, look, unlucky on that one, mate. Good luck for the rest of the tournament. Do you have a message for the all the Canucks fans back home?
Oh, just appreciate them for watching. Know it's quite late out there, so hopefully we got a couple of viewers, but thanks for all the support we've been having.
No worries. Well, good luck with the rest of the tournament, mate, and thanks for joining us on the pool deck.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Caught one there. Well, next game coming up, we have the Australian women against the Argentinian women.